Okay, let's dive right into this. When we think about the massive challenges facing our modern world, poverty is, well, it's almost always right there at the top of the list. But what kind of poverty are we really talking about here? The author of the piece we're unpacking in today's explainer reminds us right off the bat of a fundamental truth: the perpetual existence of the poor class throughout history, regardless of where they actually live, is a severe threat to the shared prosperity of our entire planet. She notes that every question deserves an appropriate answer, right? And every problem needs a solution. But to find the right solution to this threat, we have to make sure we're actually asking the right questions about what poverty looks like today and exactly how it's evolving in our hyper-fast-paced society.
So, I want to ask you a question. Do you have enough time to pursue your long-lost dreams while managing your daily life? I want you to really truly think about that for a second. We're looking at a very specific, highly personal, micro-level problem today. It's that persistent, nagging feeling of being perpetually rushed, just constantly overwhelmed, feeling like the 24 hours we get in a day are literally never enough to get everything done. Now, you might not consider yourself impoverished in the traditional, financial sense of the word, but if you're constantly sacrificing your health, putting off those dreams, or compromising your well-being just to keep up with the intense demands of daily life, well, you are intimately familiar with this modern crisis.
The brilliant insights we're exploring today come from researcher and writer Oluyomi Oladevid. She describes her core motivations so simply and beautifully. She says, "I am a Nigerian and I love people. I am concerned about global development and transformation. I enjoy generating solutions." I absolutely love this framing because it tells us exactly where she's coming from and what drives her. She is deeply passionate about influencing global policy, providing absolute clarity, and she is entirely dedicated to breaking those stubborn, intergenerational poverty cycles. Her unique background and her deep drive for global transformation give her an incredible lens on what's holding humanity back. And through her work, she's identified something incredibly pervasive that affects all of us.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the clear distinction she makes between two very different types of poverty. On one hand, we have traditional poverty. This is what most historical development interventions and social enterprise solutions actually target. They're specifically designed to help the income poor and the opportunity poor. The goal is to enhance their quality of life and finally break those intergenerational cycles of poverty. But on the other hand, she introduces time poverty. She points out that empirical literature is absolutely replete with evidence showing that time poverty is a modern crisis that freely crosses all income groups and all geographical boundaries. Think about it. You can have a high income, live in a wealthy nation, and still find yourself devastatingly poor when it comes to having any actual time.
So who exactly are the time poor? Well, as she points out in her analysis, the demographics are incredibly broad. They encompass people you might not actually expect. We're talking about men and women who are actively choosing to challenge the status quo. It's the dream chasers, the career professionals, the household managers trying to juggle a startup, 3 kids, and a sourdough starter. She notes a truly fascinating paradox in her work. As more people step up to pursue their long-lost dreams, or as they bravely try to manage households alongside really demanding careers and growing businesses all across the world, they inevitably become increasingly time poor. In their ambitious effort to build a richer, more fulfilling life, they actually end up depleting their most precious and completely non-renewable resource, their time.
So the crucial point is how we actually address this massive issue. She doesn't just outline the problem and leave us hanging, thankfully. She identifies sustainability-driven enterprises leveraging technology as the absolute key lever here. Because time poverty is so complex and it affects so many different types of people juggling a whole myriad of overlapping problems, we need tools that can dynamically scale and adapt. Technology, when it's driven by a focus on genuine sustainability rather than just pure unchecked profit, has the incredible power to actually give us our time back. It's the necessary bridge between the overwhelming demands of our modern lives and the relief we so desperately need.
But she's really careful to note that not just any generic technological solution is going to do the trick. She strongly advocates for what she calls bespoke products, services, and solutions. And the first half of this equation is that these bespoke solutions absolutely must be highly efficient and cost-saving. Makes perfect sense, right? Think about it. If a tool or service meant to save you time ends up totally draining your bank account, or it takes hours just to figure out how to use it, it's really just shifting you from time poverty right back toward traditional income poverty. So for those of us managing complex modern lives, the interventions she calls for have to be highly tailored to our specific needs, incredibly efficient in their execution, and economically accessible to actually make a dent.
And here is the vital second half of her proposed solution. These bespoke interventions must also be energy-saving and stress-reducing. Now, why are these specific traits so critical? Well, because she makes the ultimate conclusion that these interventions are absolutely vital for the sustainable health and wellness of everyone on the planet. This isn't just about clever scheduling or finding the latest productivity hacks, it's fundamentally about our physical and mental health. The human toll of time poverty is profound. If our enterprises and our technologies aren't actively reducing our daily stress and preserving our personal energy, they're completely failing to address the true root of this wellness crisis.
Let's move to and see how this builds from the micro-level individual solutions we just discussed straight up to the macro-level systems. She insists that addressing time poverty isn't just a solo mission that's completely up to you and me. Looking at 2021 and beyond, she outlines that every single level of our governance systems, from individual households managing their routines to private firms managing their employees, all the way up to national governments and massive global institutions, they all must act wise for the future of global health. This requires massive, systemic action. Firms absolutely must respect the time of their workforce. Governments need to prioritize infrastructure that doesn't steal hours from their citizens' days. Ending time poverty is, without a doubt, a shared global responsibility. Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. How is your household, or even your local government, acting to protect your health from the intense stresses of time poverty? I want to leave you with this provocative question because it perfectly reinforces the absolute importance of systemic action for global sustainable development. If we agree with her that time poverty is a severe threat to our shared prosperity, we simply cannot accept feeling perpetually rushed as the normal status quo. We have to start demanding and actively creating systems that value our time just as much as our money. Thank you so much for joining me as we unpack these critical insights, and I really hope this leaves you inspired to challenge time poverty in your own world.